Yes. How we all doing? How we all doing today? Just make sure everything is all good on my end. Nothing's gonna miss. And we gotta talk some boxing. Normally do these on a Sunday. Stuff was on yesterday. Some stuff came up yesterday, and I was pretty much out of the house all day. Well, most of the evening. So, and then I had to record a couple of videos. I still haven't uploaded them all. I still have two to go up. So expect them tomorrow. But let's talk about this. Another day, another day closer to AJ Fury, I believe. I do. Another day closer to AJ Fury. Still think we're getting that fight at some stage, right? I think we're going to get that announcement soon. Tyson Fury's been saying that there's been some good talk. There's been some good. He gave an interview with Michelle Joy Phelps. He's been saying that he's convinced we're getting this. I think they're just trying to decide on the site and where it's going to be held. And once we get word on that, theoretically we should be good to go. It should be all legit and good to go. That's what I'm hoping. Now, God only knows what happens, but that's what it should be. So I'm hoping in the next few days, we might not get an announcement per se. I don't think we will. I think they'll wait for the big event, but I think they'll get a venue. They might not even announce the venue, but they might just say, we have the venue. It's agreed. They might not say where it is necessarily because they might want to just, build that little bit of suspense until, we get the proper date and the proper announcement. But I think we're looking good. I think this is looking legit. This is looking like we might actually have this fight good to go. So, man, I'm crossing everything. I am literally crossing everything that this is going to be legit. We get this good to go. In terms of the weekend, man, we had some good fights on the weekend. It was actually, I was glad, right, that a few of the guys were streaming. They were just doing commentary. They were streaming the Joe Smith card because I was literally going to go watch a couple of movies and go to bed after the Conor Benn card, only to find out that coverage of that card started really, really early, like by American standards, really, really early, by our standards as well. So I was chuffed to bits to find out that I could actually see some of the fights. The knockouts on that card were crazy. There was like so many good knockouts on that card. It was ridiculous. The Joe Smith Vlasov fight, I didn't get a chance to do a post fight. I was really busy yesterday, so it was only yesterday night when I actually went to bed and watched that fight. It was a close fight. It was a really close fight. Personally, I thought Vlasov did enough to win. I knew Maxim Vlasov was going to be a tricky opponent. People talk about improved fighters. Maxim Vlasov is one of the most improved fighters I've seen in a while. He really is. Because I remember when he lost to Chilemba. The only thing he showed in that fight was that he could punch a bit. Other than that, Chilemba kind of Chilemba won that fight, right? Then he goes and he fights Gilberto Ramirez. And I remember HBO giving Ramirez a bit of stick for not looking. And Ramirez didn't look good in that fight. And Vlasov gave him some problems. And HBO were critical of Gilberto Ramirez at the time. But then he moves up to cruiserweight. And other than, what was the guy's name? Oh, Glowacki, the guy Cody beat. Other than him, he's the only guy to beat Vlasov at cruiserweight, if memory serves me right. And he beat some decent guys at cruiserweight. Not world beaters, but decent guys. Rakim Shakayev, Ola Duradola, to name a few. So when I saw this fight was announced, I thought, all right. And do you remember? And Christ, Frank Warren and Tunde Ajayi should be thanking their lucky stars this fight never happened. Does anyone remember when we thought 2020 would, right? When we thought 2020 would be a normal year, there was actually talk that they were trying to get Vlasov versus Anthony Yarde. If you remember back to the far end of 2019, I remember, I think it was a Tunde or Frank was saying that Maxim Vlasov was an option to get like a WBO ranking title. I remember thinking, Anthony Yarde just come off the back of being stopped by Kovalev. Do you want this guy to get knocked out again? Because Vlasov is very, very useful. And based off of that, if 2020 had been a normal year and that fight somehow miraculously would have happened, Vlasov would have knocked Anthony Yarde into outer space. And I thought Vlasov was unlucky not to get the decision personally. I mean, he really did negate a lot of Joe Smith Jr.'s, word pressure. Joe Smith has improved, but he is still a bit one-dimensional. I'll tell you what, Maxim Vlasov would give Artur Beterbiev a good fight. I'm being deadly serious about that. Maxim Vlasov would give Artur Beterbiev a very good fight because he's every bit as big. Because this is a guy who's weighed in over 200 pounds for certain fights. So he would give, people talk about Beterbiev being big, but Vlasov is every bit as big. Every bit as big. He doesn't hit as hard, probably not anyway. But accurate, he throws a lot of punches. He would give Artur Beterbiev hell in there. Joe Smith, it'd be a fan-friendly fight, but I think Joe Smith would end up just unless, and this is a big if, unless Beterbiev got ages overnight, which I don't think he will. Joe Smith's in for he's going to get his head taken clean off by Artur Beterbiev. It'd be a good fight, but that's what I'm thinking. Big up to Tony. What's good, G? First day back training today. Can't wait to box again, mate. We still we'll have to wait until May, probably before gyms open here. So it's fucking annoying when I see like all the videos, there's pictures of people in the UK training and going to the gym and all, and I'm just like, fuck me. We still can't do it here. There's still no gym, and there's no gym that I can find that is open or anything like that. There's a few kind of behind door gyms, but they're doing like bookings because they're doing like one-to-ones, and of course they're all overbooked. So it's a pain. It's a pain hearing that you guys are all there, but oh man, May hopefully, because I miss the gym so much. I really do, especially now because like things have been a bit all over the shop lately, and I just love training, and it's just such a pain. In terms of boxing again, do you know what? Right. I don't think I will ever box again. But the problem is that this has always been my problem with boxing. I'll tell myself that no, I'm finished with it. I don't want to box again. And then I'll hit the heavy bag or something. Like obviously the gym, the normal gym I train in doesn't have heavy bags. But one of my friends, he does. He has a heavy bag in his house. So whenever he's over, he might say, yo, hit the bag with me. And the minute I start throwing combinations on the bag, I'm just like, oh, I want to box again. That's always been the way. I remember back about 4 or 5 years ago, I finished boxing and I finished training, and I was convinced, right, that's my like amateur career done and dusted. I'm not going to fight ever. And I went like 7 months without boxing training. And my friend it was actually before Christmas, I think in 2016, 2017. And he was like, let's go and hit the bag. He had some hand wrap, put the hand wraps on, put the gloves on, hit the bag. I was like, I want to box again. So I ended up going back to box. That's always been the way. I just throw a few shots and combinations in the bag, and I'm just like, I want to box again. Big up to Rich. Ben versus Porter. Oh, mate. Johnny Nelson saying Conor Benn to beat Sean Porter. This is the same Johnny Nelson who said, what was it? He said that James Tennyson would beat Tank Davis. I mean, Johnny Nelson, I just don't know with that guy. That guy, like, it's mad, right? You never see that Company Nelson page on Twitter. That's a very funny account. It's a parody account, but there are times that will say things, and it's actually hard to. You can actually tell that Johnny Nelson could say something like that, and you do it in his own voice as well. It's just crazy. That's a ludicrous statement against him versus Porter. I mean, Conor Benn, when he fought Formella, he really boxed. He boxed very well against Formella, but you could tell Porter was just like, I'll just coast this. Sean Porter is leagues above Conor Benn. Leagues. And Conor Benn, people say his power is good. Well, Sean Porter has been hit by Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence, to name a few. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that Conor Benn could do that would surprise him in there. Adam Smith made a fool of himself the weekend. Yeah, that Ebony Bridges fight, I swear to God, Adam Smith really did I follow Ebony Bridges on Twitter, and I seen she put up a stat or like a tweet today saying that basically she hadn't watched the fight, but when she watched it, she couldn't believe what the Sky commentary team were doing. And I remember just thinking, well, that's Sky in a nutshell. If you are the away fighter, especially if they have a vested interest in you, if they have a vested interest in you, you could literally hit Shannon Courtney with the kitchen sink, and they'd still say, great work from Shannon Courtney. It's just annoying. And like, I was watching that ESPN card, and you're hearing Andre Ward, talking you through a fight. You've Tim Bradley interjecting. You've Joe Tessitore there. That is how commentary should be. When you're listening to Barry Jones and his Adam Steedman, that's how commentary should be, where they're breaking fights down, they're talking about what's going on in the ring, they're doing this. It's like Shannon Courtney lands 2 jabs, great jabs by Shannon Courtney. Ebony Bridges lands 5 punches. Now let's talk about Shannon Courtney before boxing. It's like, mate, come on. What, like, seriously? So Adam Smith, he's a clown. I don't know how he's the head of boxing for Sky, so he's not going to go anywhere. But I really do hope, because people complain about the zone commentary. It's not as bad. I'm telling you now, it's not great, but it's not as bad. It's nowhere near as bad as what goes on Sky. That is just BS, what some of those Sky commentators say. It's just annoying. Let's go, G-Man, Lemon Ninja. Big up to Lee as well. Yes, G-Man. Good evening there, G-Man, and the chat. Big up to Junior. How are you, my man? How are you? How are you? Where are we? Oh, big up to Crazy D3. Vlasov and Bivol will be a good chess match. That's an excellent show, actually, for a fight. Vlasov, I'm surprised he makes light heavyweight, to be honest with you, because this was a big cruiserweight. I mean, Vlasov, when they say, right, people are too big for cruiserweight, or too small for cruiserweight, but they're too big for light heavyweight. Vlasov wasn't like Isaac Chamberlain, a cruiserweight. This was a big man. This was a big cruiserweight. So how this guy makes light heavyweight is beyond me. Dmitry Bivol is not the biggest light heavyweight in the world. Vlasov throws a lot of and Vlasov's work rate as well. He really does surprise me, Maxim Vlasov, because for such a big man, he's weighed in. You go on his box rec, he's weighed in plus 200 pounds before. Now, not crazy over 200 pounds, but he's weighed in plus 200 pounds. I'm looking at that and I'm just thinking, how in God's name does this guy make light heavyweight? What the hell does he rehydrate to? And his work rate is still pretty good. So what the hell is this guy doing? And he's useful. Like, Vlasov has punching power. I suspect, though, he probably does hit harder at cruiserweight than he does at light heavyweight. Just from the eye, it just seems like he does have that little bit more snap at cruiser, because he's probably not cutting as much weight. And, I remember his fight against Shakiev. His fight against Rakham Shakayev, that was on the undercard of Lebedev versus Gassiev. And that was a really good card. And it had some good fights on it. It had Julius Ndongo versus that guy Troyanovsky, where that was a bad knockout in that fight. It had Dmitry Kudryashov knocking out a guy. Those cards they used to put on in Russia were really good back in the day. And that fight right there was excellent. It was really good. Him against Shakiev. Vlasov was down once in that fight, but Shakiev was down about 4 or 5 times in that fight. Ebony Bridges did herself proud. With a better trainer, she would give some women even tougher work. I was wondering when you said worm, because I was like, what? Worm? I was like, worm. I was wondering why you said worm. I was like, what the hell? Now, I reckon that I don't know Ebony Bridges' trainer, so I don't know what kind of job he's known for doing or anything like that, but I definitely think that Ebony Bridges, there's potential there. There's definitely a lot of potential there. I think maybe if I was training Ebony Bridges, what would I have told her to do in that fight? The eye was a hindrance. Not take away from the trainer, but if I was training Ebony Bridges, I think I would have got her to try and jab her way in. Rather than just relying on head movement, I would have been getting her to maybe try and jab her way in to get on the inside against Shannon Courtney. Try and use your own jab, because the jab on the outside or to get inside is actually quite useful. I might have given her that advice, but it's not taken away. It was a great little scrap. Shout out to Joe every time. Happy Monday. What I want to say, right? I'm trying my best here, okay? Joe, on Friday, me and you were talking about Echo Falls, right? Do you know in Ireland, it is literally, and I kid you not, I've been to Tesco, I've done Google searches, I cannot find Echo Falls anywhere in this country. Every single Tesco tells me it's out of stock. So if anyone knows of anywhere in Ireland where your boy can get Echo Falls, because I've looked online and you can't even get it ordered. Like, it's really, really difficult to get it ordered to you. So I'm struggling big time here to find out where I can get it. People keep telling me it's piss, but I'm still curious just to try it. I just want to try it. So If anyone knows of anywhere that delivers, except Amazon, Amazon in Germany will deliver it, but you have to get like 6 bottles of it. And I was like, I don't want 6 bottles of it if it's piss. So it's a pain. Cannot find it anywhere in Ireland. Evening Graham, evening Joe, G-Man in the chat. G-Man, aka Kella Sauerland. Yeah. You gotta love that avatar. You gotta love that avatar. Big up to Kella Sauerland. I quite like Kella Sauerland. He's a funny guy. He's actually a cool guy. I really do hope that what I was a mean or was something like that, the guy like that he's working with, I hope that does well for them. I really do. Because Kella Sauerland is cool. Do you remember the IFL interviews with Kella Sauerland when he was in Manchester before Eubank versus Groves? And you'd all the people wanting to get pictures just with Kella Sauerland. Because he's funny. He's cool and he's quite a likable person. He's a bit like Eddie Hearn. There's a lot of banter with Kella Sauerland. So have a lot of time for Kella Sauerland. Definitely. So that's why I really hope that his, what would you call it? That thing, the sports deal goes well. I really do. So did AJ and Fury pick a venue? Apparently it's looking good. It's looking good. We don't know exactly where it's going to be as of yet, but I'm liking what I'm hearing. Fury gave an interview with Michelle Joy Phelps today. So he said he's convinced that this fight is coming up next. I'm convinced that we're going to get it. It's just the dates. That's more kind of so what I'm thinking of is when are we going to get the dates for this fight? Because the longer they leave it, the more unlikely it's going to be that it's going to be in July. So I'm just wondering when are we going to get the dates for this fight? That's what I'm thinking. Because the longer they leave it, the less likely it's going to be in July. The more likely it'll be to move it towards, kind of September, August, September. I'm at a point of view where I listen to Sky commentary just to laugh at it. Yeah, you see, like, some people tell me, you should mute it. That's what they do. And I've always been someone where I like having commentary. I like listening to it, even though there's no fans there. I like being able to listen to someone, I don't know. I've always been like that. I like being able just to listen to that commentary. But with Sky, it is getting harder and harder and harder. Like, it really is. It's really annoying. And it's really annoying when, I'd love to, I can imagine, like, Ebony Bridges seemed to be a bit pissed off at the Sky commentary. I can't really blame her, to be honest with you. But it must be annoying if you're an away fighter and you're like boxed out of your skin, you're trying your best, you're landing shots, you're doing this, and the commentator at ringside is just completely just ignoring everything you did. Like, that left hook she caught Courtney with at the end of the night round, that may as well have not happened. So, Sky are an absolute joke. But the problem is, as I said, I like having commentary playing in the background. So it's a catch-22. As much as I kind of would like to just say, the hell with it, I'll mute it, I like having it going in the background. I like having something to listen to. There's been a few times where I genuinely have had to mute it in the past. I think two come to mind. Actually, one of them was when Shannon Courtney fought Rachel Ball. I had to mute it that night because it was just too biased. And the other time I muted it was when Joe Parker fought Anthony Joshua, because Parker early on was doing some good work and Sky were just absolutely just completely just doing nothing but just talk about Anthony Joshua. They're the only two times I remember just saying, enough's enough, I have to mute this. Other than that, I think I've always been able to tolerate it, at least offhand. I think they're the only two times in recent memory I've had to delete or I've had to mute the commentary. The rest of the time, I normally am able to soldier on, for the most part anyway. For the most part. Can someone explain to me why the amount in the chat never equals the amount of likes? Hit the damn like button. It's free. It is. It's free. I don't know. Like, these do tend to do good for likes anyway. They do get in the 50s sometimes. I don't know. I think a lot of people, you see, it's weird, right? Because I could do this for an hour and a bit. And in that hour and a bit, it could have like 300 people click on it. But then, because it stays up and it's kind of in podcasty format, it's like it does like an extra couple of hundred views after that, which is good. Which is all good. It's there to listen back to. So I don't know. I never know. The whole like thing, I used to always wonder why people asked for it. And then I found out why, because it actually helps YouTube recommend your channel. So like more people get your channel recommended. It does help in the long run. It does help. It helps your channel gets more recommendations. It gets more people. It just means that YouTube will just recommend it more. So when people say like, leave a like and this, that, and the other, there's method to the madness, believe it or not. There really truly is. There's method to the madness of asking for it, because it does genuinely benefit you. So that's why I just say, please leave a like. It's free. It's free. Adam Smith looks like, oh man, he gets so much stick, that lad. I actually feel bad for him sometimes. You know that? I really do. Sometimes I do feel bad for the guy, because he does get an awful lot of stick. He really does. He gets an awful lot of stick off people. Like whenever people you go with like and click on an IFL interview, you always see people in the chat saying, "I just came to read the comments." That is literally what you get when you look at like an Adam Smith interview. You just get people clicking on saying, "Yeah, I just came to read the comments." It is funny, but I do feel bad for him in some sense. He does get an awful time, but his commentary is absolutely shocking, though. That's what I will say. Maybe Tyen's Irish fans have drunk the country dry. It's I don't know. Like people, like it's weird, right? People keep telling me Echo is crap. Like online, anyway. People keep telling me it's crap. Don't drink it. You won't like it. But I don't know. It's one of them things where you see it so much. You see Tyen Boots sipping away in it. You just think, I wonder what it's like. I just wonder what it's like. And I just for just curiosity, I just want to sit there, have a sip of it. I'd even do it on a live stream, just take a drink of it, just to see, what it's like. Is it as bad as people make it out to be? Is it nice? I'm just curious to see what it's like. That's literally all I can say about it. Like, I'm not like dying to try it. Well, I am, but I'm not like expected to be my new favorite drink. I'm just kind of wanting to see what it's like, and then so I can say, right, I've tried that, and we're done. I won't need to try it again. Order 6 and send 5 to Tyen Boot. Yeah, like on Friday evening, that's what I did. I was like, right, I said I'd do it. I'm gonna do it. Let's get some Echo. Tried a few Tesco's in the weekend. None of them had it. I went online, and every Tesco was listed as out of stock. All the off licenses, either they haven't heard of it, and I was just online. I wasn't actually ringing them, but I was just, they either hadn't heard of it online, or it was no stock with no date of when it was coming back. So I go online to see if anywhere in the UK will deliver it, and they will, just not to Ireland. They'll deliver it to the UK and the Channel Islands, all that, but not to Ireland. So I'm like, all right, last chance saloon. We'll go on to Amazon. Go on to Amazon Germany, because you don't pay customs on it. And Amazon Germany have it. They're like, yep, Echo Falls. I think it was like €30, right? And I was thinking, that's dear. €30 when it's only £5 in Tesco. And then I click on the ad, and it says it's a 6-pack. So it's like a 6-bottle kind of thing, whatever you call it. And I was like, well, I want a bottle. And if Echo isn't nice, I don't want to have like 6 bottles here that I'm not going to drink. So I said, right, I'll pass. As much as I want to try it, I don't want 6 bottles of the damn stuff. I just want one, so I can have a sip, have a glass of it, and say, right, it is or it isn't. It is for me or it's not for me. But I sure as hell don't want 6 bottles of it just lying around, so I can play Kings or something like that. If you've ever played Kings, it's a fun little game. It's a fun little drinking game. But yeah, that's basically the story. That is the story of lockdown in Ireland. You spend your Friday nights looking for Echo Falls online and to see if anywhere in the UK will deliver it. That's literally the height of it, mate. So make it that what you will. Make it that what you will. But yeah, now we had some good fights on this weekend. It was an interesting week for boxing, There was some good fights on in the States. We had some good cards. Seen the knockout with Bones Ennis. Bones Ennis, the first guy to stop Sergey Lipinets. That was a good statement. Bones Ennis, and I think, no, Boots Ennis. I keep calling him Bones. I don't know why. But Boots Ennis is a good little prospect. I first heard of him about 2 years ago. Had a look at him. Again, like he looked like that. He looked useful. And since then, he's been, every time I see him, he just seems to be just getting better and better and better. He's going to be a problem in the welterweight division moving forward. Likes of him, Virgil Ortiz. There's another guy as well up and coming, and I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's like Spence or something. He's looking decent. There's a good few guys out there in that welterweight division. The welterweight division has always been a division that is, it always produces good little talent. It always does. There's always good talent in amongst that division. So I'm definitely keeping a close eye on it. I just hope that with these kind of up and coming guys that we have, that they do try. They do try and, make the big fights, that they don't let, what's the word? They don't let the politics kind of get in the way and, oh, you need to cross the street or this, that, and the other. I don't like all that talk. It's just annoying to me. So fingers crossed this new kind of crop that we have coming, they're going to be good. I think they will. Kella loves the banter in the comment sections about it. But yeah, I remember that. I remember him. He's encouraging the comments to be going. I thought that's hilarious. And you just look at Kelly, you just think, yeah, this lad's a legend. He's a legend, this guy. He loves the comment section. He doesn't give a shit. Now, Kella's good guy, good banter. So I have a lot of time for him as well. And this is the guy who came up with, he's the mastermind of the World Boxing Super Series. Personally, I think that's been a great success. The World Boxing Super Series, in my opinion, it's been fantastic for boxing. It's been nothing but good. So, this guy, if you give him more money, you give him better, not better fighters, that's bad mean, but if you give him a more depth kind of list of fighters, this guy could put on some good shows and he could do some interesting things. Chris Eubank Jr. had to work with Kella Sauerland when he was in the World Boxing Super Series. He was happy to come back to him, So obviously Kella Sauerland is doing something right. I love Kella. Remember when lockdown began last year, he was running online weekly boxing quizzes. He seems like a decent guy. He definitely does seem like a decent guy, Kella Sauerland. Good banter, not too serious. Just, yeah, I have a lot of time for Kella Sauerland. He seems like a really cool guy. He really does. But what Graham says there is spot on. When you hear, because Kella, Sauerland's German. I think it was his dad who originally started Sauerland. And they're based out of Germany. But you hear Kella talk with that voice, and it's that London accent. I remember the first time I heard an interview with Kella Sauerland, I was kind of shocked. I was like, does he have really good English, or is that just a London accent? And then I find out that he was raised in, I think, West London, even though just with a name like that, but he was raised in West London. Man, big up to Kella Sauerland. Every time. Man, he's funny as hell. I could listen to Kella Sauerland talk. He gives good IFL interviews. He's just funny. He's just a cool guy. Let's talk about FA Jagger. For me, although not the fastest, and yet does get tagged, there's something there that if he can tap into, he could be very good at heavyweight. FA Jagba is an interesting one for me. He definitely needs time. There's no rush in FA Jagba. And I think if we do, that's when we're going to start causing problems, right, for him. I think a Jagba is useful. He definitely can punch. Man, that knockout was crazy. That was a scary knockout against Brian Howard. That was a hell of a punch. So a Jagba is very useful. There's a few little issues there. As someone says here, a Jagba's already been exposed, dropped by a journeyman and stiff as a post. I don't want to say exposed necessarily, but yes, that knockdown was a worry because that knockdown was against the run of play. That was when his opponent was hurt on the back foot. You would imagine not able to generate much power. Now, the shot that did drop him, I believe was a right hand, if memory serves me correct. I don't remember it looked quite innocuous. So it didn't look like a massively concussive shot, but it was still able to have an effect and, drop FA Jagba. So you got to worry about that. He is very stiff, extremely stiff. He's way too stiff. They need to fix that. That needs to be addressed ASAP, because if you are that, because people talk about Anthony Joshua being robotic and stiff, a Jagba looks way more stiff than that. He looks way more than Anthony Joshua, way more. So he is going to, if he keeps that style up when he goes up the levels, he's going to get hit a lot more. And if his chin is not really the greatest, he's going to have some problems. So punching power, keeping a fight at long range, that's fine. He's okay at that. But then he needs to add a bit of versatility in there. He needs to work on his defense. Against Brian Howard, he was still getting clipped with a lot. Well, not a lot, but he was still getting clipped with shots in there. So shots that he kind of probably shouldn't be getting taken, he shouldn't be getting hit with. So he needs to address that. He needs to address the fact that he is so upright. The fact that when he throws the right hand, I remember against Jonathan Rice, when he would throw a right hand, he would kind of lean in with his chin up. That's just asking for trouble. So there's a lot that needs to be worked on with a Jagba. He said he needs about 2 years before he's ready to go in for like world titles or world level. I agree with that statement. 2 years for me would be about right. 2 years or so, yes, gradually increase the level of competition. Try and fight as regularly as you can. And I think we could be onto something, but we need to see improvements in those aspects. I don't want to say he's been exposed necessarily. I think the fact that a Jagba came to prominence after Curtis Harper walked out of the ring. And after that, people were talking about this guy. He has a couple of highlight reel knockouts. So I think people looked at that and thought, this guy could be useful. This guy could be, really useful. And I think maybe we kind of I don't want to say bought into hype, but I think maybe we kind of looked and thought, okay, maybe this guy is going to be, a world beater or something like that. He still can be, but not as quick as we thought. Obviously that knockdown against that journeyman, was it Kaladzic or something the guy's name was? That kind of brought a Jagba down to earth. Because remember when he came out against Rice, he was a lot more wary and not like gun shy, but he was definitely a lot more cautious about, engaging. Where before he seemed to just kind of be like, yeah, I'll engage, I'll throw shots. But it's interesting. He's an interesting character. I think he's useful though. I really do. Does Liam Williams have a chance to stop and hurt Demetrius Andre? Good content, G-Man. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Donnie? I hope I'm saying that name right. I'm not picking Liam Williams against Demetrius Andre. I'm actually going to do my prediction video either today or tomorrow. Demetrius Andre, I'll tell you one thing, and I was actually surprised at this. Demetrius Andre is 33 years old. I genuinely thought he was younger than that. I really did think he was younger than that. I think Liam Williams is going to have success in there. He's going to be probably the best name, maybe Vanis Martirosyan as well, on Demetrius Andre's resume. Demetrius Andre I think he's going to outbox Liam Williams. I think Liam Williams is an on-top fighter. I think at British level, he's on top of most people. He's stronger, he hits harder. But I think Demetrius Andre is a very good boxer. I think people don't look at how good he is from a technical point of view, the boxing ability that he has. I think that he's going to keep it at range. He can switch hit. He's respectable power. People don't talk about that. Demetrius Andre does have respectable power. It's just that I think his biggest problem is he's unwilling. I was like unwilling, but he's kind of too defensively minded for his own good. So he won't engage unless you're dead on your feet, he really won't do anything. Like when you look at his fight, Willie Nelson, that's 5 years ago now. He looked very good against Willie Nelson. We had Willie Nelson down early in the fight, but he let it drag on and on and on and on until the 12th round, and he finally closed the show. Same with Luke Keeler. Same with a few guys. He could have ended these fights nice and early, just gone for broke, and he just let it go on and on and on and on. Bit of a lack of killer instinct. And I think he's just happy to just see these fights out. Minimal risk. Against Liam Williams, I genuinely, hand on heart, believe we are going to see a statement from Demetrius Andre. I think this is going to be the fight where everything kind of clicks for him, right? Because I've always rated him. He's annoyed me in the sense of that he's just fought. He's fought who is in front of him basically, but they haven't been amazing. But lest we forget, even back when he was at 154. He still wanted the big fights. And I believe he did. He would call out guys like Erislandy Lara, like Triple G. So he did want them. But Andre's problem has been, over the years, inactivity. promotional issues because he had that issue with Bob Arum. Then he was fighting on PBC, and then he ended up signing with, he was fighting on HBO. Then he went to Eddie Hearn. He's been a bit all over the place, Demetrius Andre, over the years. But I think now he's in a good place, and I think we're going to see the best of Demetrius Andre. I think he's going to win. Liam Williams, go back and look at the first Liam Smith fight. When it did get tough, he did kind of, I don't want to say he folded. Obviously, the headbutt stopped that fight, but you could see Liam Williams wasn't comfy in there. You know, the second fight, that was close. Thought Liam Smith just nicked it, but you could see in the first fight worrying signs there. Echo Falls is not chev enough for Ireland. We have a cider here called White Lightning here. You don't want to mess with that, trust me. Yeah, we have something here called Druids. I've never been a cider guy. People tell me they blow your head clean off if you drink them. Big up to Chris, Broken Nose Boxing. Massive shout out to you. Congratulations. You just hit 1,000 subs. Big up to you, my man. Delighted with that. Delighted to see that you hit there, man. You hit 1,000. My next step, hopefully 4K. Hopefully by the end of the month, I'd love it. I think I'm about 110 subs off it, give or take, by now. Man, I really want to hit it by the end of the month. I really want to hit it by the end of the month. I reckon I can. But then it's going to be trying to hit 5K. But yeah, man, 1K. 1K. I remember when I hit it, I couldn't believe it. Do you know what, right? When I hit 1,000 subs, right, YouTube was kind of fucking with me, if you know what I mean. Where, like, some people, you might have this, you might not, but sometimes the subscriber count doesn't reflect the subscribers you have on your channel. So I hit 1,000 subs, but the channel still read 999, if that makes sense. And I think I had like 1,003 subs before the channel actually crossed over to 1,000, if you know what I mean. So it was really weird. Whereas now it's the polar opposite. Now, if I hit like 1,000, like say I hit like 3,999, they'll count that as 4K and they'll update it. It's really weird. The counter is a bit all over the shop, but big up to you. That was a story that didn't need to be told. But big up to you, man, on hitting 1K. Delighted you got there. I missed a few questions there, by the way. I did. Big up to Ben. Ortiz and Ennis are both way ahead of Conor Benn. Yeah, they won't be putting Conor Benn in anywhere near those guys. Hell no. Hell no. Jesus, no. You see, that's one thing about Conor Benn. When people ask, is he going to be a world champion? It's like, it's a very tough division welterweight. It always is. So for him to win a world title, you look at guys like Spence, Porter, Crawford, and people say, well, yeah, they'll eventually move up or move on. And it's like, all right, fine. But look at guys like Ennis. Look at guys like Ortiz. There's other up-and-comers as well in there. You got guys like Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis, who can move up to welterweight. Jose Cepeda, what's the other guy's name? Ramirez. These are at 140 now. They're not going to be there forever. So these guys will eventually move up. Those guys are like, what? I wouldn't pick Conor Benn. Could you imagine Regis Prograis versus Conor Benn? I wouldn't pick Conor Benn over Regis Prograis. So he's in a very, very tough division, right? He's not the biggest 147-pounder in the world. When he turned pro, by his own admission, and I remember this, I think it was after his third or fourth pro fight, because I've watched all of Conor Benn's pro fight. He said himself that I'm really a 140-pounder, but I started lifting a lot of weights because I want to be a welterweight. So this is not a natural welterweight. Maybe he's grown into it more now, but he's not the biggest welterweight in the world. Now imagine he decides to move up to 154. Well, he is really in a lot of trouble then. Because although that division, you would say Charlo's the main guy, he's not going to be around there forever. All them guys are massive. And they may simply be able to overpower Conor Benn. And I do want to see Conor Benn in there with a puncher. Because he's never fought a puncher in his career. He's never fought a puncher by his career. Or in his career. So that's what I really want to see. I want to see how his chin is. I want to see him in there with someone who can bang. Cedric Payne could punch a little bit, but we need to see how he is. Add 50% water to 50% Zinfandel, and you've basically got Echo Falls. Oh, really? I still just want to try it, though. Just for that, I just want to try it. If anyone in the chat knows Anywhere in the UK that will be willing to deliver Echo Falls to Ireland, please leave it in the chat, because I can't get it anywhere in this country. It's crazy. So if anyone knows anywhere that a bottle, I don't want 6 bottles like Amazon were offering, just a bottle. Anyone knows, leave it in the chat, because I want to try it. Even though everyone's telling me it's piss, I well believe it's piss, but people still drink Stella. You know, I'll leave it at that. You want some Stella, mate? Some Stella. You cannot get Stella on tap in Ireland. You can buy bottles of it, but you can't get it on tap in Ireland. It's not nice. I don't like Stella, by the way. Just in case you were wondering, I don't like Stella. How do you think Conor would get on against Lipinets? That'd be a good fight, actually. The fight I'd like to see Conor Benn in is a guy no one's mentioning, which is Avanesian. I think that's a great fight. Avanesian would give Conor Benn, like, Avanesian versus Ben. I think that Sky really were banking on Kelly beating Avanesian, because if Kelly had beat Avanesian, best believe we would have Conor. We probably would have had the announcement on Saturday night that Conor Benn versus Josh Kelly is next, or David Avanesian. Yeah, Josh Kelly is next. Because Sky really believed that was going to sell big and be a big pay-per-view. Josh Kelly needs some serious rebuilding. Who would have thought that, Josh Kelly? Because I tell you now, right, I never rated Josh Kelly ever, because I've seen him fight loads of times. I always knew something like that was going to happen. But I really didn't think we'd be talking about Conor Benn in, as good a light as we are. Because after his first few fights, I thought this guy is never going to win a British title. I'll say it again, Benn versus Broner. I'd go with Ben in that fight. Adrian Broner looked shocking in his last fight, mate. He really did. I would seriously go with Conor Benn at this stage. Adrian Broner looked terrible last time around. That's a name. That's a good name. Imagine that. We laugh at Adrian Broner. He's still a 4-weight world champion. He's still that's a 4-weight world champion on your resume. We may laugh, and he brings a lot of it on himself. Still a 4-weight world champion nonetheless. It's crazy. What does everyone think about Dylan White wanting to fight Francis Ngannou in UFC? I don't know. I don't really think of it. I don't really think of it too much, mate. I would imagine that Francis Ngannou would beat Dylan White in the octagon. Just the ground and pound. I know Ngannou is more a striker. I seen his knockout against Stipe. That guy is scary. He's got scary power. But if it was a boxing match, Dylan White sleeps Francis Ngannou. I hope I'm saying that name right. He really does. Hello, G-Man in the chat. The zone card starts 8-9 UK or PM UK for anyone who wants to know in the UK. Is that like this Saturday? MVG. Is that like literally Liam Williams versus Demetrius Andre? It's like an early start by like their standards. If that's the case, man, I am happy. I really want to see that. That's going to be a good fight. That's really going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be Demetrius Andre's coming out party. I'm still surprised he's as old as he is. I genuinely didn't think he was 33. I know he's been around for a while. I still thought he was younger than that. Ajagba's got it all to prove me. Looks the part just too upright, hittable, predictable. He can whack though. Yeah, he's got very good power, but like you say, and like most people have noticed, he's very upright. And he's still, you see, to me, that's got to be a known issue. They must know that, but he's still very upright. They must know that must be a known issue in training, but they still have him like that. That's bizarre. So AJ Fury seems to be very likely now. These are long ongoing negotiations that I think that the longest ongoing negotiations, like I think a Fury stated last June, mental. When that was announced last June, kind of got me by surprise, because boxing had only just kind of came back. So that kind of took me by surprise. But now, at the time, I kind of thought they're just hype. But now I'm believing it. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. I genuinely think we're going to get it. But it's been just so goddamn long. Did anyone see that comment Dylan White left about AJ Fury won't be for Undisputed because he's got a version of the WBC title? That's a stupid thing to say. No, obviously not. Ebony Bridges is only 5 foot tall. Please comment on this phrase. Connect it with your famous. Oh yeah, thank you. I've never met Ebony Bridges, so I don't know how big or small she is. But like I've said, Carl Frampton, he took me by surprise when I met him. Yeah, very small. He is a very small man. Big up to JDev, the only guy in the world who can get away with asking me some bizarre questions. You're the only guy I allow that to. According to Social Blade, my channel will hit. If that is Social Blade is a bit hit and a miss. It is, because look at the revenue it tells you you'll get. It's nowhere near that, but it says. But it's, well, actually, it's somewhere in the middle, to be honest with you, in terms of the revenue. It says, but it can be hit and a miss. Social Blade, but if that does hit 7, that's the goal I gave myself. 7K by the end of the year. If I hit that by the end of the year, I will be so happy. Some months have been better than others, though. Like February, I think I got like 200 and something subscribers. Last month, I only got 160. They vary from month to month. Like, it's weird. And I don't know I'd love to know how the algorithms work, because I just don't know how they vary from month to month. So February was like a really good month. Like last month wasn't bad. I got like 100 and something subscribers, but February was much better. I don't know how it works. I really don't. I'd love to know. I'd love to know. Big up to Faust. Big up G-Man. Hope all as well. It's about as well can be, mate, to be honest with you. I think Wheels will bring out the best. Exactly. Big up to Dan. He's tough and will come forward, almost tailor-made for Demetrius Andre. Yeah, but I've seen Demetrius Andre have some issues with pressure in the past. A lot of people look at the fight he had. What was the guy's name? Kulkai. And they say, well, look what Jack Kulkai did. You know, Jack Kulkai isn't as good as Liam Williams. And I say, yes, you're right. He did have a lot of success. But I think that was more so the ring rust. And Demetrius Andre wasn't in his comfort zone in that fight, because that fight happened in 2017. It was meant to happen in 2016. Demetrius Andre, by his own admission, stated that he actually didn't want to fight in Germany because of decisions and stuff like that. And I think that was playing a factor in why he looked and underperformed in that fight, you know, because it seemed like he was worried about, decisions. It was a split decision and he clearly won the fight. I remember that. It was split and he clearly won it. But I think that kind of took away from Demetrius Andre a bit. The fact that he didn't want to fight in Germany and he had to. The fight got delayed. A lot of things. So I look at that as maybe being just an isolated incident, when people say that. But I think with this, I think Demetrius Andre is going to I think he's going to outbox him. And to be honest with you, right, I've said this once, I'll say it again. I was, because I was doing very few videos at the time, I was picking Demetrius Andre to beat Billy Joe in 2018 if they fought. And I'd still pick him to beat Billy Joe if they fought. I do rate Demetrius Andre. I know a lot of people don't, and I can understand why a lot of people don't like him, because, and like he's annoyed me from time to time, the fact that he just doesn't. There's so much potential there, but he just doesn't fight the guys I want him to fight. But I know there's a good boxer there, and I think we're going to see it this weekend. I think I said it once, it'd be his coming out party this weekend. I'm telling you now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm convinced we're going to see the best of Demetrius Andre. I really am. Taylor versus Ben in a few years could be good. I think Josh Taylor would beat the brakes off Conor Benn. I think that Conor Benn has improved a lot, but I think Josh Taylor would, in the nicest way, he would beat the brakes off Conor Benn. Josh Taylor's versatile. He's tall. He hits hard. He moves well. He can fight good at mid-range. He can fight good at close range. He can fight a bit at long range as well. But mid to close range, Josh Taylor is just brilliant. And, Regis Prograis. That's why I said earlier. You look at guys like Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, Jose Zepeda, even Ivan Baranchyk. But guys like that who are coming up. And there was other guys as well I missed out. I can't remember some of them actually. But there's so many good guys who are up and coming, from 140 who could end up moving up to, 147. If Ben is staying around, it's going to get hard. Like, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder. So for him to win a world title, I don't know. I really don't. Sky seem to think he can, and obviously they would, but I really couldn't see it. Not that Ben's not good, he is, but I think that the level of depth in that division and the division below, it's just too much. When these guys move up from 140 and the guys at 147 move up to 154 or retire, it's not going to get any easier. Andre will need to be at his best on Saturday. I think he will. Conor versus Evanesian. Well, I was heavily favouring Evanesian to beat Josh Kelly, just because I actually thought it would go to points. I didn't think he'd stop Josh Kelly, to be honest with you. That surprised me. I really didn't see a stoppage coming. That did surprise me. But against Conor Benn, how would Conor Benn live with that pressure? David Evanesian is a decent puncher, very decent puncher. How would his chin hold up to being hit by someone who hits that hard? It'd be interesting. It'd be very interesting. Evanesian is big. He's bigger than Conor Benn. He's physically strong. I think it'd be a very tough fight for him. I probably would pick Evanesian to win. That was a name that wasn't mentioned. And I think if Josh Kelly does, or if Conor Benn doesn't want to go British title and he wants to go straight for European, it's a good yardstick. If he gets through Evanesian, holy shit. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. You can rebuild. People say it must be tough for Conor Benn being Nigel Benn's son, but you can't tell me there aren't massive advantages as well. Gentle matchmaking, easy fights on the undercard at big pay-per-views. Yeah, exactly. I see exactly where you're coming from there. That's 100% right. That's why I look at Campbell Hatton. And I don't like people look at Campbell Hatton in his last fight, in his first fight, and they say he looked terrible. They say this, that, and the other. He didn't look amazing. I will not discount that for a second. Made a lot of novice mistakes, looked very novice. But I think that we need to give him time. Same way we need to give Ben time, although Ben did look better in his debut, to be fair. I think that it is an advantage being able to get on these matchroom cards and get on these pay-per-views. But at the same time, I do think it is a disadvantage at that same time. Because if you think about it like this, right? These guys aren't used to this pressure. You're putting an awful lot of pressure on them by putting them on these undercards of big fights, by putting them on all these events. I think for someone like Campbell Hatton and Conor Benn early on in his career to an extent, I think they would have benefited from having, okay, you can have that deal with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, but maybe let them have a couple of fights, on some small hall shows, where there's no one really there, just so as though they can get those little stay busy fights, those little improvement fights where there is no pressure. It's nice that they can get on these pay-per-views. They're getting their name out there to the world, but there's a lot of pressure. You could tell Campbell Hatton was nervous. You could tell Campbell Hatton that was probably the wrong stage to put him out on. Maybe bringing him out on the undercard of Conor Benn versus Vargas would have been a more fitting debut. You could tell that stage was it did affect him. Now, saying that, a lot of other things affected him as well. Someone said to me that he was only a novice amateur, and obviously novice level is 2-minute rounds. So it looked like he was trying to hold on to that 2-minute round pace, and that's why he gassed a bit. So, it could be a lot of things, but for sure, Conor Benn looked better earlier on. Now, Conor Benn didn't look good, but he looked better than Campbell Hatton. But as I said, we need to give Campbell Hatton time. There's too many people saying, "Oh, he's garbage." If Campbell Hatton has 10 fights and he still looks as novice after 10, then yeah, we've got a problem. But let him learn. Let him learn before we can't just pass judgment on him straight away. That's why I was in my post fight to Campbell Hatton, I was just like, well, look, did look amazing. There's a few mistakes in there, but by mistakes you learn. He's plenty of time. He's only 18, 19, plenty of time. Conor Benn, I think, was only 19 as well when he turned pro. So plenty of time. Things can change. Conor Benn does look a little bit. He looked a little bit better than Campbell Hatton, I'll have to say. But Conor Benn still at times looked very, very vulnerable. Conor Benn, I think, one thing about Conor Benn, right? He's a good boxer. His boxing skills have improved. But I look back at that Pain Out fight, and I fully believe that if you want to beat Conor Benn, now there's plenty of ways you could do it. You could just outbox him because he is quite small. But if you try and make it into a brawl, he is willing to suffice. Because you could see when Paynow dropped him, he really let defense go and he just wanted to get into a fight. And I think that if you're someone like David Avanesian, you do that. For me, you're going to win the fight because Avanesian will try and really put it on Conor Benn. And if he hurts Conor Benn and he makes Conor Benn go and see red, like what was the guy I said his name, Paynow did, you got a good chance of beating him. Seriously, because I think Conor Benn does have that in him where he can see red and he will maybe just say, do you know what, I'm just going to go for it, go for the jugular. And that's when mistakes get made. And I think something like that might happen to him. For me, yeah, I thought that as well. He looked shocking. Adrian Broner, I mean, he's been around for years, but that's the worst I've ever seen him. What we got here? Yes, G-Man, that's the Andre card. All right. That's good. I'm happy about that. That means I'm happy about that. Billy Joe Saunders is bigger, more husky than Canelo and has fast feet with great reflexes and good jab. I feel like Billy Joe beats Canelo. And sorry, I just got a message there. I just have to read this. Yes. I've got a new laptop coming for you for doing everything. And it should be with me in the next week or so. That was just an update on that. To go back to your jab, I feel Billy Joe beats Canelo and Plant. Billy Joe is a brilliant slick boxer. I think you're right. He will beat Plant, personally. I don't think he's going to beat Canelo. I think Canelo may be just a bit too versatile, personally. Now, I think Canelo's going to target Billy Joe's body. I think Billy Joe, he looks in great shape. I hope his stamina holds. I hope he doesn't slow down late on in the fight. If he doesn't slow down, we're good. We're good. Buatsi versus to be announced and Terry Harper versus the one Terry Harper's fight, and I think she's been champion for a while. That's going to be interesting. I'd say I wonder if we get Raven Chapman on that card because she's gym mates with Terry Harper. So I wonder if we get her on that card. That was a fun little interview. Do you ever think we'll get an explanation to why Josh Kelly was fast tracked? I don't know. I don't know. I think Adam Boot played a lot of it. I think Adam Boot fell in love with Josh Kelly's athleticism. And I think that he obviously felt, because Adam Boot manages fighters as well. And I think he fell in love with Kelly's athleticism. I think Sky looked at Josh Kelly and thought Pretty Boy Kelly flash, because they were comparing him to, I mean, imagine comparing him to Lomachenko after only a couple of fights. And I remember Boxing Legends TV, because they put up that video after only a couple of fights. Does this fighter have a sixth sense? And it done a couple of million views. I think because Kelly was so flashy, it's like I said in one of my videos that the magician is always getting you to look the other way from what way the trick is being played. So when we looked at, well, not what me and a lot of others, when we looked at Josh Kelly early on, we saw him getting clipped by his journeyman. We saw him, looking a bit sloppy at times. But then you see the triple left hooks, the flashy movement, the speed, the combinations. Looks great on a highlight reel, but that's only little snippets. And I think Sky, Adam Boot, and certain people were just looking at that and thinking, yes, this guy is, brilliant. He's this, that, and the other. I think that's why. I think Adam Boot fell in love with Kelly's athleticism. I think Sky thought they were onto a winner. And I think they just moved them way too quick. I think that the Ray Robinson fight was the beginning of the end of Josh Kelly. Lest we forget, 2018, this fight would have happened 2018. They weighed in. Avanesian versus Kelly. They weighed in for that fight and they pulled it at the last minute. Can you imagine what Avanesian would have done to Josh Kelly? Because lest we forget, this was too soon for Josh Kelly in 2021. We're talking the back end of 2018. Josh Kelly would have got absolutely steamrolled by David Avanesian. And God knows where he would have went. That would have been probably more damaging because it would have been very early on. It would have made him really have to rebuild. Or maybe it actually would have been better because at least then you could have used that. You would have got away with it more of saying it was too early. So weird one. But yeah, Kelly, I think Adam Boot fell in love with his athleticism. He was flash. Sky loved him. I think all that just led to him being rushed a bit. That's what I think. Lads, we 51 in the chat. If you could, please help your boy out and smash the like button. I don't ask for a lot, but I just want to get to 30 likes. So 24 likes. If we can get to 30, I'd be so happy. if you could, lads, just to help your boy out. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Liam Williams looks like Joe Smith Jr. Liam Williams like Joe Smith Jr. is a poor man's Carl Froch. Andre would chin him. I don't know how good Liam Williams' chin is because I've never seen him buzzed. But Demetrius Andre does hit harder than people give him credit for. I will tell you that. He definitely hits harder than people give him credit for. He can bang a bit. Yeah, Jay, you're right there. Bit of a nothing fight for Fortuna versus Garcia. Garcia doesn't seem to want to fight Devin Haney. It's a weird one. That's a bit of a nothing fight. Remember Fortuna was meant to fight Campbell at one stage. Garcia is a star in the making. That's what I will say. He is gonna see. If he keeps winning, he is gonna be the next Canelo. He is a star in the making, that kid. He really is. Are we ever gonna see Andre versus Canelo? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Demetrius Andre versus Canelo, that would have been a good fight. Demetrius Andre would give Canelo so much problems. Seriously, he would. I'm telling you now, if I am wrong and Demetrius Andre gets bashed up against Liam Williams, then I'll hold my hands up and say I'm wrong, but I just can't see it. I've always rated him, and I think we're going to see the goods this weekend. I really do. Give Conor Benn 2 more fights, then start mentioning Taylor Prograis. Oh, I wouldn't even, man. To be honest with you, I think he's I think he's a while off. Seriously, I think he's a while off. Josh Kelly's Philly shell defense is amazing. He blocks punches. Yeah, the Philly shell just doesn't work for Josh Kelly. I don't know why he insists on using it. I really don't. I really think that Josh Kelly, with his athleticism, he could just box normally. Like, he really should just box more. Just as normal. He doesn't have the punching power to pull that style off. Because look at Naz. Naz could throw an uppercut, a lead uppercut, and knock you halfway across the ring. Josh Kelly can't do that. Ben versus Avanesian will be a great fight. Pick up the AA, by the way. It will be a great fight. But they made it obvious they aren't interested in domestic or European belts. I think they just want to keep them fighting all that. Yeah, it was annoying to me that they didn't mention David Avanesian, because you really would have thought that was logical, because they wanted Josh Kelly. They couldn't get him because he lost. Why not fight the guy who beat Josh Kelly? Conor Benn is only 24 years old, tiny amateur experience. People need to chill with comparing him to world champions. No rush. I think it's because Sky are doing it. Sky are the ones saying, is this our next world champion? Is he going to win a world title? Honestly, I don't think he will, but I think he'll be in good fights, and I think he'll hold his own, when eventually he does step up to the world level. But I think that the guys at welterweight are just, and the guys coming up at 140 will be just too much. Same for Campbell. He's only 19, one fight, literally a decade away from his peak. Yeah, Campbell Hatton has many, many, many years ahead of him. We need to really just give him a bit of time. There's no point rushing him. There's just no point rushing him. No point. And I don't give him, look, I won't begrudge him if he has a bad performance. Like I said, it'd be different if he was, 10, 15 and 0. And he was still fighting journeyman, looking the exact same and looking sloppy, and he was going life and death. That's different. But this stage of his career, we just watch him, see how he gets on, and hopefully we see small steps. I'm not expecting him to go from, Campbell Hatton to Ricky Hatton overnight. It's going to take years. It's going to take years. Ben beat Paynow in a rematch for a WBA trick title in mid 2018. And has top 10 ranked ever since. Really? Jesus. I didn't know that. Didn't even know he was top 10 ranked. I think they're happy to keep him where he is until he's 27 at least. Another 3 years? I don't know about that necessarily. I honestly don't know about that necessarily. But yeah, big up. That's cool. So I just got a text there. Yeah, I hope they don't keep him like that until he's 27. Because that'd be just... I don't think you get away with that for as long as then. What we got here? Got to give props to Ben's attitude and fan-friendly style. Can never be in a boring fight. No, he won't. That's one thing about Conor Benn. He will be entertainment. He will be entertainment. He will be entertaining fights. Mark my words. One thing, if Conor Benn never wins a world title or anything like that, he will be in entertaining fights. Mark my word. That is one thing that's a given with Ben. Johnny, Eddie Hearn's son could beat Deontay Wilder Nelson. Yeah, man, he is that company Nelson page on Twitter. It's hard to tell the difference between what that says and what the actual Johnny Nelson says. It really is, man. It is funny. Pornhub will be the homepage of G-Man's new laptop. Hell no. Hell no, man. Hell no. Getting a Mac. Getting a Mac. And I'm getting a camera for it as well. Because there's a camera. It's like I like having a camera on for these lives. Like doing, because you know I always do face to face. So I like, I like having the camera on, but this camera is shit. It's absolutely shit, and the lighting is terrible. So I'm getting a new, like I was gonna mount it there. And hopefully it will be better. So I'll do these. You won't see the coke sniffer as much. I think Conor Ben should fight Louis Collazo. That's a good shout, actually. That's a good shout, Kian. Louis Collazo was a good shout. Then maybe, well, wait. Then maybe a 154 bout with Eubank just beating that. That won't happen. That definitely won't happen. I'd be baffled if that happened. Eubank Jr., I don't even think he could do 154, mate. That would be amazing. That Eubank versus Ben, they would sell the shit out of that. They really would. But Conor Ben would get smashed up, to be honest with you, mate. He would. Eubank is just way too big. He would get smashed up against Eubank Jr. Ben won't be putting any risky fights for a while. He's a popular young fighter. Would be terrible mad to throw him in with high risk. Yeah, imagine they did throw him in there with Sean Porter. I mean, that would end in tears. Lemon Ninja, hit the like button. If you could, lads. Greatly appreciate it. Helps your boy out, gets the subscribers up. We've already gained 3 subs since we started this. You see, growing every minute of every day. Midnight Rider, appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. It would never, I couldn't honestly get, that's one thing I just could not see. What's this? G-Man, who you got? Prime Fury versus Prime Ali. No adjusting for weight and height. The actual best Fury versus the best Ali. No rose tinted glasses. Honestly, I would go with Muhammad Ali. I would. And this isn't me with rose tinted glasses. I just think that the speed, the movement of Muhammad Ali would offset Tyson Fury. I think his speed, his movement, his stamina, because Ali could move for 12 rounds or 15 rounds if needs be. I think he'd be able to just fiddle Tyson Fury around, and I think the speed would bother him, and I think he'd win on points. Seriously, that's what I think with Muhammad Ali. I would. So who you got, G? Khan versus Ben. Honestly, right now, Ben. Honestly, Ben. I think Amir Khan at this stage is washed to hell. It's washed up to hell. Josh Kelly should adapt the George Grove style. That would be better. He's got long enough arms. That would be better. I genuinely believe that would be a decent style for him. Like George Groves, he kept the right hand down low, but long range, sharp shooter. I think that would benefit Josh Kelly a lot more. I really do. This whole a la Prince and the Seam style, it just don't work. It's just not his style. It's just not natural. Evening. Oh, big up to Rat. Evening, big up G-Man. What's G-Man's new slogan? Mate, I haven't even, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to come up with, to be honest with you, man. I'm just trying to think, what do I say a lot on this channel that I could use? Because, G-Man's rocks, which was what it was. I like that, but it had a separate meaning. And that separate meaning just went up in flames. Literally, it crashed and burned. So I kind of don't want to be reminded of it. That's why I don't use it. I think Joe was asking me earlier, why don't I use it? I'm not going to go into detail, but it went up in flames. So we leave that. We leave that. Do you remember that? Con's not mentally the AJ. That was just the craziest thing I have. I genuinely remember that, thinking this has to be a joke, or Amir Khan got trolled, or hacked or something like that. I just thought it can't be real. There's no way. And even AJ was like, what the fuck? But nope. G-Man, big up to H Money. G-Man, Tyson Fury will knock Anthony Joshua out. H Money, 100%. I'm picking Tyson Fury to win. I do. I think Tyson Fury is going to win as well. And big up to H Money. If you haven't, go and check his channel out as well. Big up to H Money. But I agree with you 100%. I'm going with Tyson Fury. I'm going with Tyson Fury in that fight. I've been going back and forth, but I've always stood firm and said, no, I think Fury will win. By knockout, I think he'll stop AJ as well. Maybe not by clean knockout, maybe by TKO, but I think he'll beat Anthony Joshua by knockout. Unpopular opinion maybe with some, but even though Fury's been out of the ring for a while, I just think that he has that little bit more there. And I still think AJ's not fully over that Ruiz loss. I seen little things in that Pulev fight that just made me think, And do you know what, right? The good thing about this fight is it's one of those, like, I'd expect Fury to get hurt at some stage. And if Fury can survive getting hurt by AJ, he has it. Because AJ, if he tries to get someone out there and he can't, he's in all sorts of trouble. Because we saw that against Pulev. He needed rounds to recover after he opened up on Pulev. So, yeah, let's go Team Fury. I'm Team Boxing, man. Like, I like both guys. Like, I like Anthony Joshua. I like Tyson Fury. But I just think Tyson Fury has this, you know? I always felt that if Deontay Wilder, not so much now, but I always felt if they'd fought in 2018, Deontay Wilder would have knocked Anthony Joshua out. I really do. I always thought Deontay Wilder would have knocked Anthony Joshua out. I actually thought that fight would have been a stinker, AJ versus Wilder. They would have been both cautious, but it would have been the speed of Wilder just clipping AJ. Bro got tired against Pulev. He's always done that, bro. Whenever he hurts someone, he always just, if he can't get rid of them then and there, he needs rounds and rounds and rounds to get back into it. Shout out to Alex Jones for the £2.63. Appreciate that. When YouTube take 32%, should leave me with a little over £2. Appreciate that. I really do, man. Thank you for the super chat, for supporting. Big up, man. I really do appreciate that. I agree. Ali on points. Too fast, too crafty, too good. Exactly. Exactly. And I think that Ali's movement, his speed, I think that kind of style would offset Tyson Fury so much. That's why I think Usyk is a good fight, because Usyk, although he's not as good as Ali, he's not as fast, he's not as fluid, he's still very good. I think that style would give Fury problems. So Muhammad Ali, you would imagine, holy shit. Now Lennox Lewis versus Tyson Fury, now that's interesting. If I had to pick, again, no rose-tinted specs, I would go with Lennox Lewis, because Lennox Lewis can bring a fight to the inside if he's getting outboxed on the outside. I can't remember the guy's name. He's dead now, RIP. But Lennox Lewis in the amateurs fought a 6'9" guy. His name slips me. I cannot remember his name. But I remember Lennox Lewis in that fight. He literally just went and he just took it to the inside. He was throwing uppercuts left, right, and center. And he stopped the guy, I think. I cannot remember his name. He was a big 6'9" guy. He's dead now. I think he fought Tyrell Biggs as well. I know Tyrell Biggs beat Lennox Lewis in the amateurs. Tyrell Biggs was a useful actual heavyweight. That's a heavyweight now who Olympic gold medalist. He was like the precursor to Audley Harrison, Tyrell Biggs. He was a really good amateur, but if you ever seen him fight, he was horrible to watch. Slow, no punch resistance at all near the end. Got cut real easy. He was had a massive drug problems, like really bad, injury prone. Yeah, Biggs was a real could have been. If he hadn't have had all the issues, he could have been useful. G-Man likes doing the face-to-face, lads. Yeah, man. I like going on, get the camera out, talk to you like that, Josh Kelly needs to move up, and James Metcalf will be an interesting fight. Yeah, Metcalf's a good fight, man. I picked Metcalf to beat Ted Cheeseman. I really did think he'd do it. But him against Kelly, You'd imagine Kelly would be too accurate for Metcalf. Metcalf's not exactly hard to miss, but Metcalf is tricky. He's big, he's strong. He's a bit like his dad, Shane Neary. He comes forward, he tries to put it on you. Kelly, he might not like that. We've seen Kelly come apart under pressure before. Metcalf's not as good as Avanesian, but he's probably bigger. So it'd be a good fight. I think, though, they won't do that fight because Metcalf is with Frank Warren still, just because he was mandatory, or I think they wanted the Commonwealth or something like that. So other than that, I wouldn't imagine they do it, or Frank Warren would do it if he didn't have to. Mike saw Josh Kelly live a few years ago. The amount of showboating was irritating. I don't understand the whole, I know kind of why he does it, but the whole showboating constantly when he doesn't need to be is a bit weird. I just look at it and I'm just like, why? I just look at it and I'm just like, why is there so much? Why do you need to showboat over every little thing you do? To me, it just doesn't make sense. So the showboating is irritating. I can 100% see your point there. And the showboating really did. It was for nothing in the end, and I wouldn't say Kelly be doing that anytime soon. TalkSport saying July 24th is the agreed date, and Saudi Arabia is the place. Spencer Oliver, the source. Don't know how serious to take it. Jesus, the 24th of July. To be honest with you, that would be kind of in around the dates I were thinking, the end of July as opposed to the start of July. Jesus, that is crazy. If we get that, and if it's a source from TalkSport, if we get that, holy shit, man. Oh, man. I'm convinced we're getting. I'm telling you now, lads. And I will try and get over to that fight. I'm telling you, I will try and get over to that fight. I really do. I will try and get over to that fight. Joshua Fury is such a good fight. Can make a case for both to win. It's an undisputed fight between two champions in their prime. Love it. That's what we need. We want it. That's the fight we all want. I really want that fight, man. I really want it. He's the same height, J-Dev, as Steve Cunningham, Muhammad Ali, but a lot better than Cunningham ever was. So Fury would tower over him, but we saw the success Cunningham had, and they're the same height. Big up to Limo, Evening G-Man, and big up to chat. Big up to you, my man. Every time, 60 in the building. If you could, smash the like button. Last time I'll ask, I promise. Won't ask again. Ask again. Fury beats AJ. Got Fury stopping Ali in 2 rounds, different era. No way. I couldn't. Do I discount Fury winning? No, but I wouldn't imagine it would happen that soon. No way. Now, that's an interesting one. Michael Hunter and Usyk, they are going to give some of these heavyweights serious problems. Honest to God, I'd pick Michael Hunter over Dylan White right now. And same with Usyk. I pick both them guys to beat Dylan White. Usyk versus Fury, interesting. Yeah, I pick him over AJ at this stage. People be overrating Ali's IQ. The dude was amazing for sure, but he didn't change up things when he was losing, i.e. Well, at that stage, Ali had come back from the couple of years hiatus. He'd only had that fight with Jerry Quarry, and he fought that, what's his name? Oh, the Argentinian guy. What's his name? Benavidez, but no, it wasn't Benavidez. It was Bonavides or something. Oscar Bell Bonavides or something like that. You could see he wasn't the same fighter as he was in the 60s. You could definitely see that. But I definitely think Ali, his style would give Fury issues. And I would go with Lennox Lewis UD, to be fair. I would as well. Usyk beats AJ. He definitely could. But I'll definitely be picking Alexander Usyk if that fight ever happens. I just think stylistically, Usyk would just have a field day. Yeah, I think AJ would be looking like Chisora did. Ali too small to use what he did against Fury, too big. Again, no, I'd still, just from a stylistic point of view, I think I'd pick Ali to win that fight. I know Joe agrees. I would pick, I'd probably go with points, to be honest with you, for Lennox Lewis versus Fury. The guy you're thinking of is James Olabayu. Oyabola. James Oyabola. That's it. 6'9". Yeah, he died. He died a while. Yeah, James Oyabola. Big 6'9" guy. And Lennox Lewis in the amateurs was like Deontay Wilder. Just this big, tall, like a string bean, really lanky, skinny. He was just so skinny. I remember when he sparred Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson, obviously, we know what Mike Tyson, he just looked like a man. And he knocked Lennox Lewis clean out of the ring when they first sparred. But Lennox Lewis came back and he wasn't knocked out of the ring again. Lewis was awesome. He'd have KO'd. Yeah, he'd have KO'd all three. I don't know about Fury, but I definitely think he would have KO'd Joshua. And hey, I don't discount that he could KO Fury, but I think Fury would be smart enough to stay to get through to the end. But I remember Sky ran a poll, and this was only after AJ, I think, beat Charles Martin, and so many people thought AJ would beat Lennox Lewis. I mean, no. Lennox Lewis was just different breed. Big bad James Iyabola KO'd Clinton Mitchell on the undercard of Hamed fight. Really? Clinton Mitchell. So many journeymen, like old heavyweight journeymen whose name I recognize. And Clinton Mitchell, I forget who he fought. Lennox beat David. So yeah, Lennox Lewis would have a field day with David Hay. That fight wouldn't last too long, I don't think. Yeah, Kelly would give Ben a run for his money. Yeah, to be fair, like we laugh at Josh Kelly, but remember 2 years ago when they talked about that fight first, none of us gave Ben a hope in hell in that fight. He definitely would. It'd be an interesting fight still. Kelly needs probably a comeback fight just to get the confidence back if he doesn't already have it, because he is quite confident. But that'd still be a good fight, lads. Make no mistake about that. Who's next for Mackinson after beating Congo? Honestly, Conor Benn's not a bad shout. Domestic level opponent, not a big puncher, good boxer. I think that's a good fight. I think that's a logical next fight. Let's get it. Let's get it. Big boy. Shout out to Jono. Big up to Jono every time. If you haven't checked out Big Boys Boxing, New Zealand, top channel for heavyweights, him and Boxing Squared, two of my favorite channels. Give Jono a subscribe. Big up to Jono every time. You think Fury's prep for AJ has been mismanaged? Not boxing February 2020. I suspect they didn't plan on being out of the ring as long, and I think they really did think they'd have fights in before that. But do I think that his preparation has been mismanaged? No, I think it's been done as good as they can, given everything. I know he's in training camp with Joe Parker now. I think someone said he's going to Miami. Is it this week or something like that? Or maybe he's already there to, get fully into training camp. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Be careful, G-Man. The heat over there will burn you to a crisp. Yeah, I don't discount that. Saudi Arabia will absolutely fry us. But I would gladly go over there and deal with the heat just to see that fight. Like I really want to, and obviously I'll try and get interviews as well when I'm over there. I'm not just going to go for the fight. And I'll bring my stand, I'll bring all my recording equipment, and I'll try and get some interviews. I've done face-to-face interviews before, but my kind of style of interview is just kind of let them kind of tell me more of a story. See, I don't like I like interviewing fighters. I like interviewing up and coming female fighters as well. But I like being kind of a casual chat as opposed to how's training camp going? How's this? What do you think of this? I like it just be like, you tell me about you, get a bit of personality out there for the person. That's what I like. Hunter's one of the most avoided. See, Hunter, there's no real there's no incentive there. Like, he's not a big draw. You beat him, you beat a cruiserweight. You lose to him. What the hell are you doing? You're losing to a cruiserweight. So it's just yeah, I see why. And Hunter is really good. Like, I mean, but Jono's right. Hrgovic going to be a problem for Hunter. Yeah, I think Hrgovic is going to take. I was going back and forth, but when I think about it, I think Hrgovic is going to take that fight if and when that takes place. Although Hunter's been naming Dylan White, so it has me wondering, is Hrgovic on the top of his agenda, or is he thinking of something else? The heat in Saudi will turn poor OG, man. I'm only 27 to a pork scratching. Look, we'll take it. We'll take the heat. I want the heat. G-Man, find a black market and obtain a forged passport when you get there. Where there's a will, there's a way. Exactly. There's always a way. There's always a way. There's always a way to get around these things. Should be no problem. Should be no problem to get over there anyway. Either way, I'll find a way. Oh, I'll find a way. I've heard Mackinson versus Kelly is what they want. Mackinson wins all day. I've heard Kelly is meant to be going up to 154. So that's what I was thinking. If he stays at welterweight, we'll see. But Mackinson surprised me. Mackinson definitely surprised me. I was high on Chris Congo. I really did think he beat him. He beat him pretty easily. But no, that surprised the hell out of me. That fight really did. Hay gave great value for entertainment. He trained too hard, sadly. I was angry when he lost to Bellew. I wasn't angry. I was actually quite pleased when he lost to Bellew because I at the time I liked Bellew. And I was actually quite pleased. I thought that's a real underdog story. I didn't know Hay was as gone as he is, though. I mean, in hindsight, when we think about it, right, he was getting called out by Shannon Briggs, and he could have fought Shannon Briggs. That fight would have been interesting. Briggs was well over the hill, but Hay was so over the hill and so injury ridden. And let's forget, Briggs was a natural heavyweight and could punch. That would have been interesting. That actually would have, if that went rounds, that would have been interesting. Because both guys couldn't go 12 rounds. Both guys had poor stamina. Both guys can punch. That would have been an interesting little scrap. Everyone's in a rush these days. Sky should learn from Kelly. I think Ben would think he's above Meckinson, although realistically he's not. Yeah, they're about on the same level. You know, they're about on par. So I think that'd be a good little scrap. Seems logical. I couldn't see them doing that with Kelly. I'd say Kelly's going to move up next, to be honest with you. Olabaye, I only said his name a little while ago, was killed in an altercation in London. Ah, no. He's too right. He deserved better than that. Jesus. That's not good, man. Get your press credentials application in early. Yeah, you know, I remember, right, applying for that back when they announced Dylan White versus Povetkin originally in May of last year. I remember applying for that then and just thinking, if this goes well, I'm in. And obviously then, you know what happened. And that went tits up. So that whole press like media credentials thing went tits up. They went balls to the wall, tits up. Yeah, my heart was broken seeing Bellew when he lost to Bellew twice. Yeah. I think a lot of people were like, I picked David Hay both times. Not because I liked Bellew at the time, but Harley Quinn, we should call him Harley Quinn. We don't call him Bellew. Hashtag Mr. J. We're not going to roll with that new hashtag, by the way. Florian Marku was realistically better. Florian Marku switches off too much. That's what I have to say about Florian Marku. He's a very good fighter. He's got bags of potential, but he switches off. He switched off against Ryland Charlton. He was doing well early on against Charlton. That was the best I've ever seen Florian Marku fight or box. But he switched off against Ryland Charlton. Against Jamie Stewart, he really just looked a bit all over the place against Jamie Stewart. Like, he won the fight clearly, but it was a bit all over the place. Like, he just looked a bit off in that fight. It was weird. I saw a story a day or two ago. The purse bid. No, you're right. That's what they were saying. Hopefully not. I think that's a good fight. I think that's a really, really good fight. He starts looking pretty trim. Yeah, Fury is looking pretty trim. He really is. He really is looking pretty trim. I reckon he's going for speed in this fight, personally. This is an anti-Harley Quinn channel. He is not allowed to even tune in. We know. I've bigged up Harley Quinn before. He had a good career. He did, but just as a person, he's just annoying. You ain't lying. Florian Marku, the king of small boxing YouTube creators, knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, he does good views. I'll admit that. You do a Florian Marku video, you're guaranteed good views and subscribers. I'm telling you now. So any small YouTubers out there looking to make videos and looking to get some views and subs, you won't get long-lasting retention though. Like, I mean, you'll get the subscribers. You won't retain a lot of them though, like in terms of viewership. But if you want to get good views and get good and get like 10 extra subscribers or more, you do a Florian Marku video or do a post fight. I mean, like his videos, I've done 2 Florian Marku videos and both of them have got nearly like 30-something thousand views combined. It's crazy. Need a three. Oh, Jesus. That would be Coogan, Prince Patel. Prince Patel only had a fight the weekend. He won. But yeah. G man, if Harley Quinn asked you to interview him live, would you? Yeah, I would. I'd interview him live, but I'd ask him questions, and I'd say like, why do you constantly, whenever one of your friends is fighting, when you're paid to be an analyst, and I'm just gonna say it straight, when you're paid to be an analyst to be impartial, why are you shouting at ringside? That to me, like that's a no. I'd interview him, no problem, but I wouldn't. I'd only interview him on one condition: that I can ask him what I want to ask him. None of this. Oh, how will you settle retirement? No, I can ask you what I want to ask you, and then I interview him, no problem. I don't mind. Your second most popular vid is a Florian Marku vid. Yeah, it's crazy. Florian Marku, Casemiro, Manny Pacquiao, and the other guy in Cajas, they do great views. They really do. They always do great views. I don't know why. They always do really, really good views. I was the first subscriber to Harley Quinn's OnlyFans. No facts. Never been on her OnlyFans. Don't have an account. Haven't following anyone. Don't give a shit if it was Pheno Boxing, Ali Drew. Don't give a shit who it is. I won't go on OnlyFans. No way. Don't give a shit who it is. Won't do it. Big up to Noel. G-Man, is Luis Ortiz an obvious choice for Dylan White's next fight? Can you give me 3 names for White's next fight? Ortiz would be a good shout. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I think Ortiz has seen better days at this stage. I think they're looking at Trevor Bryan, possibly. Don't really like that fight, but it's what it is. And who would they go for after that? I'd love to see him rematch Joe Parker. If Joe Parker beats Derek Chisora, I'd love that rematch. I really, really would. I really do think that under Andy Lee, we might see a much improved Joe Parker. I think this might be the shake-up he needed. Andy Lee caught me by surprise when they announced that. I'm not. That did catch me by surprise. It really did. Yeah, I seen that, mate. God Almighty. Johnny Nelson said James Tennyson would beat Tank Davis. Now that's a silly statement. That's a silly statement. He said he said Harley Quinn is technically better than Usyk. He said other silly things as well. He said some bizarre things over the years. I don't take what he says serious. What was it he said? Did he say that like Kell Brook will knock Triple G out or something like that? Or he said something bizarre going into the Kell Brook. You know what Nelson is like. He is Sky cashed in when they got him on air. They really did. Everyone can tell Harley Quinn is a bit of a weirdo. He can tell he eats his Harley Quinn comes out with some weird statements. I'll never understand them. But look, leave Matt. Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you happy, leave Harley Quinn at it. It's just the only thing I don't like is when he's just so biased. Like him and Adams, he's just when he knows a fighter or something like that, it's just like, oh, here we go. Like, I mean, you can't hear it now, but if you watched David Price versus Povetkin live, you'd obviously hear him after Pricey rocked Povetkin, him saying, him screaming like in the corner. They don't have it now because it's edited out, but if you watched it live, that was what was said. Nelson said oh my God. Jesus. I don't remember that, but Jesus, could you imagine? Canelo can take Triple G's power, but he can't take Amir Khan's. Shall we invite? Yes, we should. Yes, we should. We should invite The Wire. We need The Wire on next season's Prediction League. That would be, if we could get Richard The Wire on next season's Prediction League, damn, that would be funny. That would be so funny. Apparently, Vodcek is coming back to fight Callum Smith. Aaron promised him to fight. That's good shout. That'd be interesting. Jesus, that'd be interesting to see that fight. Vodcek is useful. He's always been useful. He's only had one loss. Him against Smith. That's interesting. holy shit, some potentially positive words from G-Man on Parker. I like Parker. I do, Jono. He just irritates me with the way there's such a good fighter there. And I know he's better than some of those fights suggest. And it just irritates me when it's a bit like Demetrius Andre. You know there's a good fighter, and you just want to see him have that marquee moment where you really see him kind of step out, and you're like, yes, he's arrived. Might see it against Chisora, but maybe Andy Lee will bring it out in Parker. That's what I think. Maybe that's what Andy Lee will do. He'll bring something out in Joe Parker. But I do believe there's a very good fighter in there. I do really believe there's a good fighter in there. I just want to see him produce it. Might be pushing shit uphill to get the wire on a channel that isn't his. No, the prediction league, John, was like, it's just like, it's done via email. So like, well, I use it via email because I don't use Facebook. But basically, you get a list of fights from Champ Ross. That's the guy's name. He runs it, and basically, here's the fights. You give your method of victory. So you say KO. You pick the round. If you don't pick a round, you get the 7th round by default. You pick UD, MD, split decision. Yeah, if your guy wins, you get 5 points. If he wins in the round you pick, you get 10 points. Vice versa with unanimous decision, etc. And if you top the league in a week, you get 50. It's all free, by the way. In a week, you get 50 quid. I've topped the league once. I think Joe was doing quite well this season. I think where are you in the prediction league? You are, where's Joe? Joe Stunner in the prediction league. Joe is second. So I think next week's the last week, isn't it? So you're second. And I am I'm joint 23rd. And my goal is to get into the top 20. I need, how many points? I need 22 points to get into the top 20. That's the goal. So it's all on this week. But it's just some good fun. But I'd love to see where Dwyer would end up in it. I would love to see where he'd end up in it. Nelson said, no, that's, I don't know. I mean, if I'd never heard the Amir Khan stoppage for Canelo, but that's really bad. That really is bad. Talks crap. But he pulled Kirsty Gallagher. Yeah, fair play. I thought he was still married. Yeah, even as a Kiwi, it's hard not to get frustrated with him. Like you said, it's all there, but it doesn't put it together. That's it. I remember Parker on the way up, like when he was, before he fought Takam. And the consensus was, holy shit, this guy is useful. I remember when he fought Santa Claus, Francois Bota, he looked like Santa Claus in that fight. And I was like, this guy is going to be a problem. Fast hands, punching power, speed. When he's in the 230s, he needs to be in the 230s. That's when you get Parker at his best. But then he started going up to world level, and you just look and you're just like, what the fuck happened? It's like, what happened? He still has them abilities, but he's just not using them. And you're just like, what the hell? Like, next week is the last week. It's a good laugh. Yeah, no, it is. And, there was a few, you get pissed off because, like, there was a few picks I did and I went back on them. Like, I originally was going to put down Joe Smith to win a majority decision. And then I said, no, it'll be unanimous. And I was like, fuck. I should have done majority decision. I went FA Jag before 4 rounds and he got the guy out in 3. So little things like that, you're just like, fuck, if only I'd gone for 1 round different or something like that. It is a good laugh and it's free, So that's the good thing about it. It is a good laugh. I'd recommend anyone to do it. Like, you don't have to, it's not like, for me, like I'm 20 out of, I think there's like 50 or 60 altogether, but it's just a good laugh. It really is. It's just a good laugh. We have a good bit of fun. Like, I like doing the prediction league, and I'm sticking with it. Hopefully next season I can do better than this season. So like DJF is 19th. And if I can get by DJF, I will be so happy. Oh my God, I will be so happy. There's no catching unrivaled. He's way too far ahead. But I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm beating Intangible's ass. He's down at 55. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well by my standards anyway. But yeah, it is good fun. And it's free. So you can't complain. You get a good laugh and it's free. What more do you want? Yeah, Dwyer won't even be in the top 30. Yeah, Richard Dwyer. I'd love to see his picks. You know, you can picture it like Joe Joyce versus, I remember when he picked Joe Hanks. Could you imagine that week? You get your predictions. The only person to pick Joe Hanks. Yeah, I like Joe Hanks in this fight. I'm surprised he's an underdog. Are they giving money away? Big up the wire. Lads, lassies, hour and 40. What I'm going to do is, I'll actually wait before I go. I seen Trey Lippy Morrison. Holy shit, that was bad. He looked terrible in that fight. He better thank his lucky stars. Boardman got that injury because he was going to lose. He was going to get stopped sooner or later. He looked awful. Trey Lippy Morrison. Now, to be fair, Trey Lippy Morrison hadn't fought since 2019, but still, no excuses. He looked terrible in there. Oh my God. And he was getting hit so easy by Bergman. It was crazy. The minute he steps up, he is going to get knocked out badly. He just he's 20-0, and he looks terrible. Does Trey Lippy Morrison? He really does. But yeah, that was a fun fight. Was confirmed. Yeah, man, he was going to get rid of him. Bergman was going to get rid of Lippy Morrison. Definitely, he was definitely going to get rid of him. Who's this Dwyer guy? I think we all know Dwyer. GamblersAdvisory.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Lassies, hour and 40. I only wanted to do an hour tonight, but we went over. We'll do another one before the end of the week. Definitely. For now, lads and lassies, I'm going to call it quits here. I can't wait to get this new laptop, hopefully this week or next week, and I can really try it out. We can see. It's going to make it easier to edit as well, I reckon. So, big up to everyone. Lads and lassies, I'm going to record some videos. I'm not finished talking to myself just yet. But for now, I'll talk to you all. Shout out to everyone. Big up to Jono as well, by the way. Actually, check out his channel. Big up to Joe and Chris if he's still here. Can only hope Morrison is a better chin than his dad. I doubt it, mate. He looked rocked over some of them shots. A big up to Chris as well. Check out Broken Nose Boxing. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Peace.